Item number 8, public hearings. We have one public hearing this evening. We're going to hold the public hearing, waive the first reading, and introduce an ordinance adding Chapter 11.34 to the San Bruno Municipal Code relating to expedited permitting procedures for small residential rooftop solar systems. David?
Honorable Mayor and council members, in 2014, the state legislature passed AB 2188, and it's referred to as the Expedited Solar Permitting Act. The objective of this act is to establish consistent statewide standards, timely processing, and cost-effective procedures for the installation of rooftop solar systems on single and two-family homes throughout the state. This piece of legislation also requires that cities and counties throughout the state adopt a local ordinance putting in place procedures to expedite the installation of these rooftop systems by September 30th, 2015. At your meeting of July 14th, we brought to you a draft ordinance and reviewed it for you and received your feedback. We received general support for that ordinance. That draft ordinance is consistent with a model ordinance that was presented to us in all the cities and counties in the state by the state of California for review and use. I'd like to point out some key aspects of our ordinance, the draft ordinance that's attached to your staff report. This ordinance would provide for an expedited permitting process. There would be a checklist that would be posted online describing to applicants exactly what they need to submit to establish a complete and accurate application. There would be an expedited review process. We would make available over-the-counter review, or if the applications are submitted electronically, we would turn those around within 3 days. We would also do inspections once they're permitted, once a permit is issued. We would do inspections within a 24-hour period, and we would do a single inspection. So how does this compare to what we have today? Today, if an applicant comes in and submits an application for a rooftop solar system for a single or two-family home, the applicant would submit an application at our community development counter. It would typically take about 10 days, not 24 hours over the counter, or 3 days if submitted electronically. And in terms of the review process for inspection, it typically would be a two-step process. The inspectors would go out and take a look at the rooftop installation and go out perhaps again to check on the electronics and also the signage put in place. So we'll expedite the review process. We'll also expedite the inspection process. What we're proposing is consistent with the model ordinance that was submitted. And in terms of fiscal impact, as I indicated to you at the last meeting on July 14th, we expect that there would be no direct fiscal impact. We expect that there would be cost recovery. Currently, our fees are $261 for a rooftop solar system, plan check and permit issuance and inspection. And we would propose maintaining that fee for cost recovery. I should point out, prior to 2011, the City of San Bruno's fee for this type of permit and inspection was $1,200, so we have come down over time. I should also point out, though, that other communities in the area are, as an incentive, looking at eliminating the fees entirely, charging nothing for the permits, charging zero. That's not our recommendation this evening. Our recommendation is for cost recovery. If the City Council would choose to look at a lower fee than the $261, we would need to bring this item back to you and bring back our fee schedule for adjustment. So at this point, I'd be happy to respond to any questions you have regarding the proposed ordinance. We are recommending that you go forward this evening and waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance that's attached to your staff report. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Great. Anything for David?
If I could, David, when this first came up, I was concerned with just the one inspection. And purpose of inspection is to make sure that everything is installed correctly to code and safe.
Correct.
How can you do it all in one? I mean, can you briefly explain what this system is and how they're going to take care of it all in one inspection? Because you're putting solar panels on the roof, you're wiring, you're connecting and all this stuff, and so the inspector is expected to be able to see all of that and sign off on all that work in one go.
Yes, that's correct. We've trained our staff. Our staff, as I mentioned at our July 14th meeting, have already been trained in terms of the review process, and they have been certified. So we are prepared to do the over-the-counter review, assuming a complete and accurate application. The field inspectors have been trained as well, so we would expect that when an inspection is called for, that the rooftop solar system has been put in place, the electrical has been installed, and the proper signage has been placed as well. So when the inspector goes out within 24 hours of a request for inspection, the system should be in place, ready for review, based on the checklist that's been given to the applicant.
Okay, anything else?
Through the chair.
Michael?
What sort of volume of this type of permit have you seen in the past couple of years?
We've seen 2 or 3 permits a week, something like that. As, again, I mentioned, yes. As I mentioned before, we're not really expecting that this would be an issue for us in terms of being able to process these applications in a timely manner. We feel that with our trained staff, our counter technicians, our 2 counter technicians, our 2 code enforcement officers, our 2 building inspectors have all been trained, our building official as well, so that all of them can do the over-the-counter review. And so I think we're suited, we're staffed up, we're trained to be able to provide this service.
Okay. So essentially, these permits go to the top of the list when they come in. That's how we're accommodating them, or accommodating the regulation.
That's correct. And also, given the broad range of training, people can shift around in order to pick up the review and handle it over the counter if it comes in at the counter. So we don't expect a problem in terms of addressing this requirement.
Okay. Or impacting other applicants that are in the queue, that they'll still fall within the 10-day or 3-day SLA that you have currently.
We expect that, and we'll monitor it to make sure.
Okay.
Anything else? All right, at this time, we'll open the public hearing. Anyone from the public like to address us on this issue? If we close the public hearing, you're going to be precluded from talking on this. Motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second to close the public hearing on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any more discussion or action by the council?
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion to waive the first reading of the ordinance.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to waive the first reading and introduce the ordinance. Any question for the first reading? Well, need a motion to waive the first reading?
We did.
Do we have an introduction?
Well,
We
want to
haven't
waive-
voted, we
waive the
haven't.
first
We
reading.
need to
I moved-
vote on the,
Yeah, I moved on the first reading.
You
I
moved
seconded
to
it.
waive
Okay.
the first, and you seconded it.
Yeah,
We have
Yes.
a motion and a second to waive the first reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Now, would you like to introduce the
I'll
ordinance?
introduce the ordinance.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
aye.
Vice Mayor Salazar.
Aye.
Mayor Ruane.
Aye.